Hi everybody, this is the next bit of the Tangerine book, okay, and we're going to be reading from page 22 with the chapter title is Monday, August the 21st. So following on from last week, we met Paul and Eric and their family and they'd moved to Tangerine County. We're going to go on to the next chapter, carry on with what's going on with Paul. Monday, August the 21st. It took me a long time to fall asleep last night. I was thinking about this. Eric's arrival is going to change the football season at Lake Windsor High School. Dad's arrival is going to change how things are done in the civil engineering department in Tangerine County. Mum's arrival will change the homeowners association in Lake Windsor Downs. So what about me? Will I make the difference between winning and losing for the middle school soccer team? I had this sense that great things were expected of us here. Dad calls this a booming area, but it's no Houston. It's not even a Huntsville. It's like we're major leaguers who've been sent down to a minor league city for a while. We're expected to do great things here and then move back up to the big leagues. I got down to breakfast just as Dad was leaving. He was halfway out of the door and he did not look happy. He was lecturing Mum. You ought to file a complaint against the fireman. You ought to call the county and complain about the slow time response. Now you ought to complain about them sending some jerk kid out here who doesn't know what he's doing or what he's talking about. I don't know why, but I immediately rose to Wayne's defense. He sure seemed to know what he was talking about, Dad. He sure knew all about the muck fires. Dad snapped back. No professional shows up 20 minutes late wearing cut-offs. If he worked for me, he'd be fired. Then he was out of the door, leaving me with unanswered questions. Fired for what? For telling us the truth? For telling us something you didn't know, that you should have known? After breakfast, I joined Mum in one of the guest bedrooms. We'd taken on the job of unpacking the boxes. We had already worked our way through the great room, the living room, and the dining room. Shade and storage space, Mum said, are the two things you do not get in Florida. People pack up their northern homes with their attics and basements and tiny upstairs rooms that nobody ever uses, and they move into these Florida homes that are as wide open as cathedrals. All the house space down here is devoted to air and light, nothing to storage. Mum had, of course, anticipated this problem. Before the movers came, we had set everything aside that we would not use on a regular basis and left it in Florida. All of these items are now stacked in a climate-controlled storage space just west of here, out on Route 22. We probably have as much stuff out there as we do here in the house, including most of Mum's antiques, which just aren't Florida, according to her. It occurred to me as we unpacked the things that they are Florida, and Mum might actually hate moving here. But of course, she will never tell me about it. Just like when she would never have told Grandmom and Grandpop about hating any of those moods of her childhood. Mum would never waste her time complaining, just like she would never waste her time worrying about the past. Later in the afternoon, we drove up Route 89, past new developments with new high walls and guardhouses, past a long row of high-tension wires to the adjoining campuses of Lake Windsor High School and Lake Windsor Middle School. All the way there, we seemed to be riding side by side with black storm clouds. I hope we get in before the rain starts, Mum muttered as we turned up Seagull Way into an enormous blacktop parking lot of the campus. We drove past a long windowless two-storey high school building and around the football stadium to the middle school. The middle school's office is located in a one-storey building that looks like the younger brother of the high school building. We made it inside just as the first bolt of lightning cracked around us. While Mum gave my name to the secretary, I looked through a glass door at a field full of small wooden shacks. They take up most of the space between the main building and the steel bleachers of the high school football stadium. I wonder who gets put in those shacks, I said, turning towards Mum. She was now standing with a tall, thin woman with jet black hair. The woman eyed me coldly and said, all 7th and 8th graders are in portable classrooms. The main building is for 6th graders only. Mum did not look pleased. The woman continued, I'm Mrs. Gates. I'm the principal here at Lake Windsor Middle School. Mum extended her hand. I'm Caroline Fisher. This is my son, Paul. Hello, Paul, she said. What can I tell you folks about Lake Windsor Middle? We were hoping to see exactly what Paul will be going next week. He has a problem with his eyesight. He's legally blind, so we were hoping to make a dry run today. Mrs. Gates looked hard at my glasses. She seemed to be trying to think of a way out of this, but she finally said, I see. All right, let's take a quick tour. Mrs. Gates and Mum took off at a fast walk. I followed slowly, angry at Mum for calling attention to my eyesight. She wanted to tour the place herself because she's nosy and wants to see everything. It wasn't because I can't see, because I can. I can see fine. We call this building, Mrs. Gates explained. We call this building the building, Mrs. Gates explained. It contains the main office, the cafeteria, the library, and the sixth grade classrooms. Don't you have an auditorium? Mum asked. The cafeteria doubles as the auditorium. What about gym? When we do need to, we use the high school's gymnasium. But where do you have your PE classes? Oh, we always have physical education outdoors on one of our fields. And when it rains, then we have it indoors in the classrooms. Surely they don't do jumping jacks in those wooden portables. No, on a rainy day, the PE teachers will mostly likely concentrate on other parts of the curriculum, such as healthcare or good nutrition. We were outside now, facing the portables. There must have been 40 of them, all connected to a system of wooden walkways, the kind of boardwalks you see at the beach, only these stretched over some sick-looking grass and a lot of brown dirt. Mrs. Gates was speaking rapidly. Each portable is, of course, air-conditioned. As you can see, all of the buildings on our campus are grounded with lightning rods for our afternoon storms. Mum eyed the field with alarm. How would you ever know if there was some emergency out here? Mrs. Gates turned to her and asked, like what? I froze. Even I could hear the annoyance in that voice. Mum locked eyes with her. Does it matter like what? Do I really have to provide you with an example of what constitutes an emergency? Mrs. Gates retreated. No, of course not. Each portable is connected to a main office by a telephone and a public address system, and each has its own pull alarm in case of fire. We all stared at the crisscross of wooden walkways until Mrs. Gates asked, what brings your family to Tangerine? My husband's job. He's a new deputy director of civil engineering for this county. I see. Large drops of rain started to fall around us, so we headed back inside. Mum prompted me. Oh, do you have any questions? Yeah. Do you have a soccer team? We do. We have an excellent soccer program, a boys team and a girls team. We play against all the schools in this area. Are you a soccer fan? I'm a soccer player, I corrected her. I play goalie. We were now back at the main office. Mrs. Gates led us through to her private office. Mrs. Fisher, I'd like you to get you to fill out this IEP for Paul, an individualised education plan. Being vision impaired, Paul is entitled to take part in our IEP programme. Basically, we identified Paul's situation, set specific goals for him to achieve, and note any special needs he might have. Mum started to read the form. I stepped outside to show that I wanted no part in that conversation. I spotted a glass trophy case and went to check it out. The biggest trophy was for the last year's boys' soccer team. It said, first place, Tangerine County Sports Commission. Mum came out of the office briskly. We ran through the cold rain to the car. Once we were inside and belted up, she said, so what do you think of Lake Windsor Middle School? I don't know, I mumbled, staring out of the window. We drove back past the field of portables, but Mum suddenly hit the brakes. Look at that, she cried. The field was now completely flooded like a rice paddy. The brown water had risen to within inches of the wooden walkway. We both shook our heads in disbelief. Then I decided to answer her question about the school. I guess if they have a decent soccer team, I let them slide about not having indoor classrooms and not having a gym. Yeah, Mum sputtered, not having a gym or an auditorium. 2 more facts apparently overlooked by your father. And what am I supposed to do? Send you to school every day in rain gear with an umbrella? Mum would never say it, but I think we were thinking the same thing. What else had Dad overlooked about Tangerine? We drove on in silence, except for the pounding of the rain. From the flooded campus of Lake Windsor Middle School to the flooded streets of Lake Windsor Downs. Okay, that's the end of that chapter. And I've got some questions that I will want you to answer. So I will share my screen and then we'll go on to this. And we'll go on to slideshow from the beginning. Okay, so in this chapter, August 21st, page 22, these are the questions I'd like you to have a go at. Why is Dad angry at Wayne the fireman? So why do you think he was angry? What didn't Mum like about the school she took Paul to? And number 3, what was the only question that Paul asked the head teacher, which is the principal in American? Why did he ask this? Okay, you want to pause the video now, and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, number 1, why is Dad angry at Wayne the fireman? Well, he seemed angry at Wayne, didn't he? And he seemed to sort of think he was a bit unprofessional coming to the house in cut-off shorts and not coming for 20 minutes. But was he really angry at Wayne? Was it somebody else he was angry at? I think he was angry at Mum, and they were having a bit of an argument, and I think he took it out on Wayne. Also, I think that he's probably feeling a bit guilty. They hadn't told anybody about these muck fires. Even if he didn't know about it, he still feels a bit guilty. They're going to have to live in a place where you can't go outside because of all the smoke. Number 2, why didn't Mum? What didn't Mum like about the school she took Paul to? Well, there were a few things that she didn't like. She didn't like the classrooms being outside, and she was a bit worried that when the lightning hit, they had lightning rods to stop the classes being electrocuted. And she didn't like the fact it didn't have a gymnasium, and that the kids had to go inside to do all their PE sort of lessons if it was raining, because every afternoon in Tangerine it pours with rain. So that would be every afternoon they would do that. I don't think she really liked the principal either. Number 3, what was the only question that Paul asked the head teacher or the principal? Why did he ask this? So he wanted to know if they had a soccer team. And he told her that he wasn't just a soccer fan. Soccer is football to us, not American football, it's football, but they call it soccer. He wanted to know because he wants to play in the team, doesn't he? He wants to play goalie. So that's what he mainly wants to do. Okay, I'm going to stop this video, and then I'm going to do another one on the next chapter with some questions to go with that. Okay.